groovy, as Bill would say.
It is quite brilliant. Groovy. Groovy's a terrible word. I hate that. It's a bit 70s kind of hippie kind of sounding word.
I love it.
Well, there you go. There's Jock in the background there. We've got Jock Penman in from Solidarity Scotland. We're going to be talking some politics, man. This is quite a politics-heavy podcast, Craig was saying earlier on.
It's got some politics in it,
It's got a couple of wee bits, I would imagine. Aye, there you go. But as usual with the kind of heavily politics-based podcasts, as I just shut the fuck up in the background, and Craig continues on.
Aye.
So there you go. So 3, 2, 1, Craig.
At the same time as it's a political podcast, it's a Thursday podcast, so we'll hear a bit of a wee naff.
A wee natter, aye.
No
drink this time though.
No drink.
Nah.
You have a bottle of Buckfast, Joe?
No, on me, no.
Have you ever tasted Buckfast?
Aye.
What do you think? Is it shite?
Didn't like it.
Nah, shit.
No.
You didn't like it.
It's a beautiful syrupy drink. No, to be fair, because I started drinking it when I was younger, it seems that I've gotten into the taste.
Do you reckon you're addicted?
Not addicted.
That if you stopped drinking Buckfast, would you start going?
No, because if I'm at a pub, you can't drink Buckfast.
I've drank Buckfast in a pub.
At Studio 24.
Studio 24.
Edinburgh, aye.
They do Bucky bombs, which are shit.
It's
They're fucking garbage.
It's a wee bit Buckfast and a wee bit I think it's cranberry juice.
Red Bull.
Was it Red Bull?
Oh, Red Bull, aye. Which is exactly what you want to a caffeinated drink. Is mere Red Bull.
I was DJing that night as well, and it was that wasn't the night you were there. I was DJing there one night, and my pal was like, "I'll come back to my bit and we'll hear me drinking that." And it was like, he says, "I've got a couple of bottles saved for you from behind the bar." I was like, "Yes, beautiful, great night." So there you go. Anyway, on you go.
No, my day it was Old English wine and VP. That was like fire water.
VP.
What's VP?
VP wine.
Oh, it's wine.
It was
a
a forerunner of Buckfast. Aye.
Right.
It's the Old English.
Take your banner off.
Aye. It's the high caffeine content kind of keeps me awake for about 3 days. So it's just kind of I like that effect sort of thing.
No.
It's just kind of.
I've seen you on speed. You didn't look very happy on speed.
Oh no, it's because I couldn't get to sleep.
Not that.
I was just annoyed for hours.
You didn't want to be awake that long.
I remember sitting up at Andy's one day, just out and just dry snitching again. I was up at my mate Andy's one night and I had 10 speed, and I was just staring at his light bulb while it was on, like 6 o'clock in the morning, just staring at it. It was terrible.
I mean, you didn't. He was already tired. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning. And somebody just came in and he decided to take speed at 3 o'clock in the morning when he was already tired.
That's nuts.
And I came down after a nice long night's sleep and came down at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and he was just sitting there like that. His eyes veined up and he's fucking fuck.
Because I was drinking before that, and then she decided to come down at 3 o'clock after we'd long finished.
Right.
I was finished about 12 and she came down about 3. So I was kind of starting to sober up, and then I turned that, and I was like, all night, just absolute nightmare stuff.
That's not fun.
No, it's not.
So, politics.
All right.
There you go.
What have you always been a political person? How did you start getting into politics?
Well, I suppose I was influenced at a really young age. I got brought up on, when other kids were getting told fairy stories and. Stories about Cinderella and, Hansel and Gretel and stuff like that. I was getting told about pit disasters.
Oh, fuck's sake.
And how the miners had such a hard time against the bosses and the 1926 general strike. And my father and his brother, my uncle, they used to go about the streets during the strike with pairs of rabbits. My grandfather was a poacher.
All right.
So they would get loads of rabbits. So they had to go around to the people who were really, really kind of starving, and they would give them a pair of rabbits, and that would do them for the week, And it was just stories like that. I got brought up on that, and my mother and father were really, really, real Labour supporters. I remember when Harold Wilson won the general election, and they were cheering to the rafters. They were absolutely delighted in that. That really done them that much good at the end of the day. But
this is slightly before my time.
That's what I'm talking about, the 60s and
right.
70s. But so it was really when I went to Rosyth Dockyard, and the section that I was working in at the time, I wasn't that long out of my apprenticeship, But the section I was working in, the gaffers decided that we needed a line manager. So they gave us a line manager, and the guys that I was working with went, well, fuck that. If they're putting a line manager in, we're wanting a shop steward. Mm-hmm. And they're going, Jock, you'll be the shop steward. And I was like, well, why me? They're going, you're always talking about politics, that's why. So they made me the shop steward. So then I went for there, I met this guy called Alec Faulkner. Alec was a Transport and General Workers Union shop steward at the time. That was later to become Unite. And he was in the Labour Party, and he later became a member of the European Parliament for Mid-Scotland and Fife.
All right.
A smashing guy, Alec, and he talked me into joining the Labour Party. He says, it's all right being a shop steward, but you've got to be political. And I went, I hate the Labour Party, Alec, I've no time for it. I was talking about James Callaghan, who was the Prime Minister, and sold the working class out in favour of the International Monetary Fund. They took a massive loan, and much the same as what's happened to Greece. Took a huge loan, and of course the money had to get paid by the workers. So anyway, I said I didn't like the Labour Party. He went, well, the only way to change the Labour Party, he says, I didn't like it much either. He says the only way to change it is from within. And it's funny that people nowadays are saying exactly the same thing, 40 years later. Anyway. Even
I've had thoughts of that. Maybe we should get involved and sort of change it.
And people say that about the SNP as well. They say, well, we have to join the SNP and make it a socialist party. Good luck with that one. Seen it, done it, failed. Sorry, but so that was me. I joined the Labour Party, and I became the chairman of my union branch, and I became the secretary of Celtic Labour Party. And at that time, Gordon Brown came onto the scene, and he was seen as a real left winger. I really thought he was a bit of a socialist. At that time, I thought this guy is good. Compared to the rest, he was really to the left. So I was kind of one of the people who got him involved or invited to some other union branches to speak there. I got him invited to my branch and got him to speak to other union branches and my shop stewards committee as well. And my Labour Party branch, and I got him invited to other Labour Party branches as well, so it influenced that. So we got a lot of work done on behalf of Gordon Brown, thinking I'm doing the right thing.
So it turns out that you're to blame for Gordon Brown?
No, it gets worse. Gordon actually mentions me in his book, only once, that when he was moved to be the candidate for the Dunfermline East constituency, which was his first seat, the guy that moved him for the seat was Alec Faulkner, and the person that seconded him was me. Oh. So
Jock.
I take full blame. Me a copy.
I can't hear you on the podcast anymore. I wanted you to leave quietly.
It's etched in stone forever.
Well, at least you didn't get fucking Tony Blair involved.
That's true. But anyway, like I say, at that time, everybody thought that Gordon Brown was a real left winger, and some people still do.
Do you reckon he was, or do you reckon he was just playing to a thing? Was he in an area where there was a lot of socialism?
Oh, aye. So it's an ex-mining community, aye.
Very well have just been playing to the crowd, sort of.
It could have been, but it certainly convinced me and an awful lot of other people. So he may well have been genuine, and then got kind of turned, which a lot of them do. Once they get a seat in, once they get under the table, with their feet under the table, and they get the big salaries in Westminster, and the chances of promotion in the Labour Party. Because newspaper people like The Guardian and that were coming up to interview him and that, and they were saying to us, what do you think, Gordon Brown, the next Prime Minister? neighbours fuck off, but they're going, he's destined for big things. So he might well have been turned, or it was just guys right at the start. I don't think so. I prefer to believe that he got turned once he was into Parliament, because what I think what happened was that he and others in the Labour Party saw that Margaret Thatcher's economic strategy was working, which it was. We called it Thatcherism, but it was really monetarism. Thatcher got that theory from Milton Friedman from the Chicago School of Economics, and she implemented it in Britain in the early 1980s, which was to have finance diverted from the manufacturing industries into the service industries like banking, insurance, finance, credit, all the industries that have really fucked this country up over the last 10 years. But at the time, you could get more, the investors could get more of a profit for their money if they invested it in the service industries. It was a higher rate of return than it was in the manufacturing industries. So that was what they did. And of course, that boosted the economy, and it lasted quite a long time, right through the mid-80s, right into the mid-90s, and until it crashed in 2008.
But that doesn't always mean it's a good thing.
Well, no, that's right. But they were fooled. I think they were fooled by it. They took a completely academic look at it, saw that it was working in America, saw that it had been working in Chile. It was tried in Chile, first of all, from 1973 onwards, after they had the coup in September 11, 1973. They implemented this monetarist economic strategy because it was a fascist general, Pinochet, who was in charge then, and he kept his boot heel firmly on the necks of the labour movement, and had 10 economists down from the Chicago School of Economics went down to Chile and ran the economy for them.
Right.
They called it the Chicago Boys, and that was where it was tried out, and of course it looked to be a big success.
Right.
So economists...
It still does to some extent until you read further into it and realise that the sort of disparity between the rich and the poor is ridiculous.
Well, that's exactly it, because the money went from the poor, it flowed to the rich. Now, the theory was, the monetarist theory is that it's deliberate. It's a deliberate move for it to go to the rich. But what it's meant to do is, and they say it themselves, is it's meant to cascade. That's the word, cascade, to those like ourselves who are not so well off. But of course, once they get the money, they're hanging on to it and they're investing it abroad and things like that.
How did they expect it to go downwards? How did they expect the trickle-down economics to happen? If they didn't want to raise wages, if they didn't want to have a welfare state that's sustainable, where do they think the money's going to trickle down?
I haven't got a clue. I don't know where they thought it was going to come down. But that was the theory. It would cascade down to the poor. Maybe they thought that goods would be cheaper. But as you say, it was part of their strategy that wages, it should be a low wage economy, so it wouldn't be wages going up. But they might have thought that the goods.
So a low tax economy as well, though. So they'll play that card.
Aye.
Not realising that services cost less if you're all paying taxes as opposed to paying it for what you need. So they keep saying these things that didn't really hold up when you start scrutinising them.
Aye. Well, like I say, at the time, I was thinking, I thought, when I first heard about monetarism, I thought, how can that work? I'm no economist, I'm not even good at maths. But I thought, if people get a really low wage, then they can't afford to buy goods. Mm-hmm. So factories are going to close, and the economy is going to run down. Now, that's exactly what's been happening. People can't afford to buy the goods that they need. So what they've done is they've given them credit, so the people go and get more credit, boosts the economy. It's like a never decreasing circle, which is always going to end up. It's going to end up in failure because it just can't be sustainable. But they didn't obviously see that at that time, So anyway, that was at the time, and Gordon Brown he got elected, and I went on and became the convener in the dockyard, the EETPU convener, the Electricians and Plumbers Union. I was a convener there for 2 or 3 years, but at that time as well, I got involved with the militant because I was asking questions in the Labour Party and they couldn't answer it. They're going, that doesn't really matter. I was like, why are we doing this? Who's going to benefit for this? And it was things about the monetarism and that, no, it was Labour's alternative economic strategy, I remember, at the time. And they couldn't answer questions that another guy who I knew was in the militant, he was asking, I thought, I'm going to find out more about them, so I met up with a guy, he was actually in Kelty Labour Party, so I met up with him and he was telling me about the militant, and I was going, right, that's it, this is it. He was answering the questions that I had, and he explained how everything that was pertaining to us was the working class, and that our interests were entirely different for the people who were rich, which were the ruling class, and the people in between, the managers of the economy and that, were the middle class, and I thought, all right, that's how things work, so I got involved with the militant. That's where I met people like Tommy Sheridan and people that later I subsequently met up with again when I joined the Scottish Socialist Party, because I went right through the 80s, and it was like it was just full on politics and trade unionism. I was a convener at the ETPU. I was the delegate to Dunfermline Trades Council. I was on the executive of Dunfermline Trades Council. I was affiliated to or delegate to the Fife Federation of Trades Councils. I was on the executive of Fife Federation of Trades
Jesus
Councils.
Christ.
I was the secretary of Kelty Labour Party. I was on the constituency Labour Party. I was on the executive of the constituency Labour Party. I was on the district Labour Party. I was on the executive of the district Labour Party. I was on the regional Labour Party. I was on the executive of the regional Labour Party. And I was in the militant, and I was in the broad left, which was the militant section, the trade union section of the militant,
Holy fucking shit.
Now, while I was doing all this bureaucratic stuff, the miners' strike was on. So we had to go out, and I was playing a band at the time as well. So we were going out playing gigs for the miners, and we were doing, I was going around trying to get collect money for the miners, trying to help the miners out, in their struggle, and of course that lasted for a year and a half actually. And it was just, and then of course there was the poll tax campaign. I was a secretary of Kelty. No, I was a secretary of Kelty Anti-Poll Tax Union, and I was the chairman of the Fife Federation of Anti-Poll Tax Unions, and that was, I think that was it. That was a lot. Aye. That was about it, but that was all in the 80s. So I just kind of got burnt out, I just that's enough for me.
I'm not surprised.
Definitely.
I didn't ken what happens when you're on the executive committee. All these things, is it just meetings constantly? Just meetings,
aye. Totally. They're exercises in bureaucracy. We never talk politics in the Labour Party. We never really talked any politics. We talked more politics on the Trades Council. And I quite enjoyed that because there's a lot of communists at that time still there on the Trades Council, and they were still, when they met somebody like myself who was a left winger, although they absolutely hated the militant, it was this old Stalinist versus Trotskyist kind of idea, And
all right.
So and I was going, what are you talking about?
So the militant was a Trotskyist organisation. Was it a party or was it just a group?
It was a party within the Labour Party, but we were never admit that at the time.
But it was definitely more left wing than Labour.
Oh, aye.
So
aye.
Right, so there's because I've tried to hear conversations about Trotskyism, Marxism, Leninism, and Stalinism, and all these things, and I can't work it out. It's a lot of information where they all seem to want similar things. They just have slightly different ways to go on about it.
Well, you just hit the nail on the head. They're all wanting the same thing, and they're all very, very similar. I mean, I dropped out most politics, just most everything, I left the dockyard. I took the money and the dockyard. I'd been voted out as the convener because there was a bit of a coup against me people going about the membership saying, you didn't want Jock Penman as a convener when Babcock Thorne take over, you know, in this privatisation campaign, you know. Babcock Thorne was going to take over, and they were saying, we can't get Jock in as a convener. He'll have us out on strike every day, you know. We can't have that, you know. So it put the fear of death in people. So I got voted out. So then I went back to the tools, and but I always remember there was this guy who was a production manager. You know, I was walking across the yard, and I can't remember what I was doing, but I bumped into him. He was for a while, and all the conveners know that I hated him. I didn't hate him particularly. He was just a guy who knew all the agreements, and he knew all the rules, and he used them to suit himself. And they were all just saying, oh, he's just a complete bastard and everything, you know, doing this and he's doing that. But I would go to a meeting and they would go, right, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And they go, oh no, you can't do that. And he'd take out an agreement and go, well, look, this is it in the agreement, you know. So because I was a militant and I was, you know, right into what I was doing, and I lost these other trade union guys, they just want an easier life, you know. They're not want to read about agreements or politics or anything like that. They just want an easy time, yeah, you know, take the easy money and that. But I read all the agreements and everything, you know. So there was times when they would say, oh, well, I'm going to do this, you know, and someone would say, oh, you can't do that, and they'd go, oh, it's in this agreement. I would go, but hey, wait a minute, it contradicts this other agreement, this higher agreement, this is what we're going by, you know. And he would go, oh, wait, and he'd look at him and he'd go, you're right, Mr. Penman, you're absolutely right. And I would say, right, okay, we'll not do that, that's scrubbed. And it'll come back, you can.
See, people need that kind of... They need to read shit. Reading is the best thing you could ever do when it comes to things like that. Because other people, even folk that put the fucking implement the rules, then you always read it. So if you've read it and they've not read it, you've got a fucking major advantage of them.
I mean, if you didn't bother reading, if you didn't bother finding out about the subject you're meant to be campaigning on or talking about or whatever, then and somebody runs right over the top of you, right roughshod right over the top of you, then hell mend you. You know, it's your own fault. Yeah. Fuck you. You know, you shouldn't be doing it. You know, so that was my attitude. And but the thing that got me was that the managers, and this production manager in particular, I got on well a lot better with them than I did with the other conveners. The other conveners hated me. You know, they really did. Because when I got elected convener, I went, you know, there was this guy, this manager who looked after us and that, the administrator and that. And I went to see him and he said, well, you know, you can work any Sunday you want, you know, it suits management, you know. The conveners, they're allowed to work any Sunday that they want. And also, you don't have to clock in and clock out and just sign a book. And I says, well, no. I says, I've got a contract of employment. I says, and I'm sticking to that. I says, I'll be clocking in and clocking out, same as my members. I says, and I'll not be working every Sunday. I says, I'll be working the average overtime that my members work. And he was really taken aback. He went, oh well, if that's what you want, then fine, you know. So, and he was fine with that, you know. But the other conveners, they hated it, you know. And one of the other conveners, he hadn't even thought about it. And he went, aye, Jock, you're right enough. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that as well. The shipwrights convener it was. He says, I'm going to do it as well. So, he sort of jumped before he was pushed because the shipwrights shop stewards committee, they were as militant as my shop stewards committee, right. You know. So they would have dealt him anyway. So anyway, that was 2 years. So the rest of them, they hated us, you know.
That seems like fairness, so. Trying to be treated the same as everybody else.
Well, the fact is, if you're getting perks, then you're beholden to the person that gives you the perks. No. You know, it's like he who pays the piper calls the tune. And the management could have taken these away for them at any time, you know, any time they didn't like what they were saying or that, you know. And they would have, you know, it would have been a knife in their side, you know. So they were leaving their cell open, you know. Plus they were leaving their cell open to suspicion, you know, people are saying, well, wait a minute, if you're just signing a book, how do I know that you're no having a long lie on the Sunday, going out and playing golf or whatever, and coming in on the Monday and signing a book and saying that you were working Sunday, you know. So they were leaving themselves. I could see that, you know, but they couldn't see that. You know, not that they were interested, I don't suppose, you know. But anyway, I was doing stuff like that, you know. So this production manager, he says to me, I'm really sorry to hear that you've lost your job, you know. I says, I've not lost my job. He says, I heard you what are you doing as a convener. I went, oh aye. I says, but that's not my job. I said, my job's an electrical fitter. I says, and that was just a part of it, doing the convener's work. I says, but I'm an electrical fitter. I says, no more and no less, you know. So he was like kind of flabbergasted, you know, and he was going, well, listen, he says, I've really enjoyed our jousts and that, you know. He says, but he says, wherever you want to get a job back in the yard, he says, if you've got any problems, let me know. You know, so I thought, oh, here we go, you know, here's these guys been trying to soak in with management all these years, you know, and they've got no time for them. You know, he had contempt for the rest of them, you know. But he's offered me, like, anything you want, you know, just come and see me, you know. I thought, oh, well, it doesn't always work, you know, to soak up the gaffer's arse, you know. But so that was me, and I left the dockyard after that. I stood for the convener's job again, that's another story, but I got beat by 12 votes because one of my opposition, one guy, he went to Faz Lane and he got a group of workers, spoke to a group of workers there, 25 workers there or something, and brought these envelopes back for Faz Lane, you know, and put them on the table, you know. So I ended up, I lost by 12 or 13 votes, you know. So,
that must hurt more than fucking losing by 100 or 200.
No, not at all. No, I was, because you know, I was like neither here nor there. You know, I thought, because when I actually got voted out the first time, I felt this physical weight. You know, how people say felt a weight leaving your shoulders. That's exactly how I felt. Mm-hmm. You know, it was like I felt this weight getting lifted from me, you know. I was like, wow.
But you had these extra responsibilities that you no longer have.
Well, aye.
So you're like, oh, I could hear sleep. Yes.
Aye, exactly. Aye. I thought, I thought, great. I didn't have to worry anymore, you know. So, anyway, so when I stood again, you know, it was like, I didn't think I would win. But I won on the day, obviously I'd won on the day, the people that I spoke to, because we had to get up and speak in front of the membership, you know. Right. And it was great, I loved it because, you know, I was working in the afloat section, and when I finished my speech, you know, there was a big roar went up for all the guys in the afloat section, you know. I felt like a star, you know. So I was like Tommy Sheridan, you know. But yes, this is what it's all about. So I loved that, you know. But that was me, I stepped back.
You're fame hungry cunt.
But the reality hit me, you know, that if I get into any bother, you know, because the new management really didn't like me at all. I was still a shop steward, and I was still saying to them, well, wait a minute, there's an agreement about that. You can't do this, you know, and they fucking hated me for it. So I kept getting put on what they call waiting time, you know, something that, you know, just particular to the dockyards, you know, that they always had to have 25% excess labour at any one time in case, this is true, in case they got caught out like they did before the Second World War, when they didn't have enough armaments and didn't have enough workforce to prepare against the Germans, you know, when the Germans invaded Poland. We were totally unprepared, or maybe it was even the First World War, I can't even remember. But the rule was after that, there'll always be 25% extra labour there. So when there was no work, you'd get put into what was called waiting time, and you just sit and play cards all day, and that was what got the dockyard a bad name, you know. But that was what it was about. It was you know, it was a genuine thing.
It's not a terrible thing to do with your time, though, is it?
Oh, absolutely. Aye. I learned loads of card games and had loads of political discussions.
You still get paid in that.
Aye, you know, you get paid.
It's fucking alright. I'll work as a waiting time person.
But what happened was the guys who were in the same section as me, one by one, they kept getting taken away and put on other jobs, you know. And so I got left. And I thought, this doesn't look good. You know, it's just me, just playing patience now. You know?
Playing Stamping Sound.
So they were offering severance at the time, and my mate Mick Brennan, he had been at me a while, you know. He said, Jock, they're offering severance at the dockyard. They're getting thousands, you know. You should take your money and come and work with me, you know. We'll go and make ourselves a fortune. And I was like, no, I'm sticking to this, you know. So, but then I thought, well, when I got beat the second time, when I stood the second time in the election, I thought, well, if I'm ever getting to bother, I needn't bother going to the new convener, because he hated me, so there's no point in me going to the union. I'll not get any help there. And the new management hates me, and they're going to find ways of getting rid of me.
Yeah.
So what they done was, the management got me and a few other guys who had put in for the severance, and one other guy, another shop steward, and they got us to dismantle this old naval hut. The kind of huts that was in like Stalag 17 and that, the war movies.
Right.
There's like wooden huts, but with corrugated iron roofs. And so what they said was, what we want you guys to do is, here's a hammer and chisel. Take the nails out of the corrugated iron that's holding the corrugated iron to the roof, take them out one by one, and then put the corrugated iron sheets in a heap, and then start knocking down the wooden buildings. And somebody said to him, why do you not just get a JCB, and just knock the thing down, and then we can do it there. Health and safety. What about your fucking health and safety,
No.
But didn't matter, that was it. That was what so of course the guys that had put in for severance, they were just waiting to leave anyway. They never ever showed up. So it was only me and this other shop steward. So we're sitting, and then the nails that were to hammer out, they were like 9 inches, about an inch square at the top, and then went down to a point, and then twisted in the middle, so that they would really stick into the wood,
Jesus.
We had to hammer every one of them out. There was about 10 of them or something, maybe not as much as that. No, 2, 4. There'd be about 8, I think, for each sheet, the iron. We had to hammer one at a time, hammer them out, So that was all right at the time, because it was like May, went into June, and I'm thinking, I said to the other guy, Wally, I says, look, Wally, this is all right now. We're sunbathing, we just take our time.
Right.
We're just hammering away, and it's going to take forever to do this. And the management has said to us, doesn't matter how long it takes, you just carry on and just do it. We just want it done. And we're going, I says, but what's going to happen in like December? When the icicles are hanging for the ceiling, what are we going to be like then, So I thought, oh no, fuck this. They're going to find a way to sack me, and I'm not going to get any money. So I thought, right, I'll take the money and leave, So I joined up with my mate Mick, and we got a couple of vans and did them up. And then we started taking bands out on tour. Started a business, Took bands out on tour, and that was brilliant. Did that for about 7 or 8 years, But then
Any bands you might ken?
Well, probably
Westlife.
No,
Westlife,
no.
shut up.
Well, actually, one of the bands.
Oh,
was,
wait a minute.
fuck's sake.
One of the bands was Slow Dive. Now, my mate was telling me just the other day that they've come back again. They weren't all that big at the time.
No.
They were doing support for. But now they've brought a new album out, and they're really big time. They're playing stadium gigs and everything now, So it's great to see them coming on, It's brilliant, but it's taken them, 10, 20 years, So so that was Slow Dive. The most the sensational Alec Harvey band. They went back out on the road. With Alec Harvey, obviously. And I was working with them a lot. They were just great. I loved it.
So were they just called the Sensational Band? I'm guessing it.
No, the sensational Alec Harvey band. With Alec Harvey. But
I reckon who this is. I reckon who
You know,
Alec
heard
Harvey
of
is.
them. I only came that because I'm a DJ. All only came there.
all right. Well, they were big in the 70s. They were huge in the 70s. I mean, really huge.
Are they any good?
Oh, they were great. Oh, aye.
Good by 70 standards.
Aye.
Right.
Oh, aye.
So not that good.
Oh, aye. I mean, they had
I'm not a big fan of 70s music, so.
all right, aye.
You do like 70s soul or anything like that? It's like kind of like
Aye.
hip hop influences,
Aye,
man.
that's fine, but
No.
I'm talking about like 70s pop music type stuff.
Well, it was kind of
Pop
rocky.
music,
kind of
or like
stuff.
Oh, they were rock.
Or
Aye,
the
they were a
rock
rock
stuff.
band. Oh, aye. Aye. Well, they did some great stuff. So there was them, and there was a lot of, there was a couple of Glasgow bands, the Humphrey Family, and the McCluskey Brothers, and, there was an Edinburgh band, the Tartan Amoebas. They weren't, major bands or that, but I went out and worked with them. But there were a couple of American bands I worked with. One was the Joe Ely band. Joe Ely was one of my heroes. He was one of the kind of, in the 70s, the country scene in America, they had the outlaw movement.
Right.
And Joe Ely was one of the kind of outlaws. Waylon Jennings and Willie Nelson, they were all part of it, you know. You know, heard of them either?
I can't know Willie Nelson.
Oh, right. Well, he was kind of.
I'm not totally ignorant to music.
Well, Joe Ely was part of it as well. I loved going on tour with him because the band that he had, it was just sensational. You know, they were doing it's like honky tonk stuff and boogie stuff and rock and roll and all that, and country stuff as well. You know, and they were great, a great band. But the most famous band I worked with was a band called Blues Traveller. Nobody's ever heard of them. I hadn't heard of them. Nicest guys you could ever meet. They were brilliant. And I met up with them and they're saying, you never heard of us, Jock? I went, nope. Nope. And they're going, you know, well, see in America, you know, we play stadium gigs and stuff like that. We play to 10,000 people at a time, you know. Really? You know, so they're going.
That's going to be like one of the English bands for here. Like, was Take That went to America for we were there, and it was just awkward because nobody knew who the fuck they were.
And yeah, they're playing fucking huge stadiums out here.
So it's just the opposite happening to them.
That must be awkward or amazing because I reckon who the main guy in Take That is
Gary Barlow.
Gary Barlow couldn't have walked in this street without being annoyed.
No.
But he can walk down the biggest street in Los Angeles and nobody can see the fuck it is. So that must be great, I'd reckon.
Well, for these guys, they would love it. The fact that nobody would recognise them. But and it wasn't like they weren't like crestfallen or anything, you know. They were just going, they were just a wee bit disappointed that, you know, I was in the business, if you like, you know,
right.
A professional roadie, you know, and I'd never heard of them. I was going, no. And they're going, well, so what's your favourite band? And I was going, well, my favourite band of all time is Little Feat. And they're going, oh, we played a few gigs with them. I was like, really? And they're going, oh, you wouldn't like them, Jock. I said, what do you mean? They're no nice people. I went, no. Yeah. So they didn't treat us very well at all, you know. I went, oh, right. Oh, well, I don't like them then. But their music was great in the 70s. It was fabulous. They're just my favourite band of all time. I love listening to Little Feat.
Little Feat.
Little Feat, aye. Feat.
All right.
Aye. Little Feat.
This is just a random fetish thing.
Aye. But it was Lowell George was the main man in that band, but he died young, a heart attack. He did he liked to indulge in the old marching powder, you know.
All right.
He liked that. But you know, apparently it wasn't that. It was because he ate too much. Apparently that he put on a lot of weight and died.
Oh fuck!
Aye, that's a downer for everybody.
Aye, well, give me a couple of years.
Aye, well, yeah, you can go. Yeah, you can accept it when a rock star or that dies because of an overdose of drugs. Well, that's it. It goes out in rock and roll fashion. You go, but that will never happen to me because I didn't take that many drugs. You know? But
I didn't take that many drugs. I like how you wanted that there. That was good.
But if somebody's eating too much, now we've got a problem.
Aye.
You know what I mean? That could affect me. That could be me, you know. So,
you just need to not eat that much.
Well, that's what they say.
Or here, some kale.
Well,
fucking kale.
I don't even know what kale is. I saw somebody
kale is basically a really strong cabbage.
I saw somebody asking there.
Kale soup. My mother used to make kale soups, like vegetable soup. You know, you could stand a spoon in it. It was great. And it put hair in your chest, you know.
I think soup's meant to be able to hold a spoon.
Well, if you think about all the chunky vegetables, this is what he's saying. It's like chunky, and it's a kind of thickish soup.
Like porridge.
Almost as thick as porridge.
I would say, porridge is about the same kind of.
That doesn't sound appetizing to me at all. Doesn't even sound close to be appetizing. I don't like porridge either. I'm not a real Scotsman.
There you go.
See, it's because I saw somebody asking about if you could cook, if you could eat kale without it being cooked, and then I saw somebody else responding, I fucking hope so. I've never cooked it. So that is.
Well,
not a very funny story.
I got into that as well. I got into for about 6 months. I'd read this book. It said "Eat Your Way to Good Health." I think it must have been about the same time Lowell George died. So I thought that would do for me. And it was written by the daughter of the guy that invented muesli. People think muesli is that stuff you buy in a packet, but it isn't. Real muesli is 2 fruits, which you cut up chunks and that. put it into some natural yogurt. You can put some honey in it as well if you want, but natural yogurt, and then some cereal, raw cereal over the top of it, like just porridge oats. And that's what actually muesli is, and it's got enough nutrients and trace elements and stuff like that to last up the human body for the whole day.
No.
That's not to say that you'll not be starving, within like 3 or 4 hours.
My granddad used to eat the kind of cereal version. It was just the kind of the fruit and the cereal, but he would put milk in it, sort of thing. So it wasn't like original kind of the packeted stuff. Mainly he would.
My granddad was fucking boring.
He's quite a boring man.
Really fucking boring with his cereals. Like so many delicious cereals in the world, and he fucking ate muesli. Utter pish.
Well, it's a bit of a con, the stuff that you buy. It's a wee bit of a con with that stuff. Anyway, I was talking to Blues Traveller. So, I did a tour with them and I got on great with them. I was smashing guys, really doing the earth and everything. And they came from New Jersey. Anyway, I goes home and like a couple of months later, it's the American inauguration of Bill Clinton. And front page photo, Bill Clinton, on the newspaper, and standing right next to him or just behind him is the guy John Popper for Blues Traveller, and he's a big fat guy, and he's wearing this big 10-gallon hat, and if there's sort of an archive photo yet, check it out. It's John Popper. That's how famous they were. And also there was Blues Brother 2000. They were in that movie. They were quite a big part in that movie. They were playing in that, and they were also in a movie called Kingpin. At the end, they're meant to
Kingpin, the comedy film.
Aye,
that's crazy, man.
You see, there's a band right at the end. The what do you call them? The religious folk.
I can't remember
what you call them.
Idiots.
but there's a band. They're standing on this hay rack or something, and they're standing playing. And this is Blues Traveller, So. They're in America and actually throughout the world, really, they're a really quite a famous band. I'd never heard.
So you were living with the stars?
Aye, that was it. But that was the most famous band I ever worked with.
Did you politic with the stars? Did you talk politics with them?
To an extent, these guys were quite political,
But they would be all rock bands, I would imagine.
Aye. Well, a lot of them just got into drugs and just didn't talk about anything. No, at the time, no, when I was working with them, but in the early days,
Aye.
So their youths were kind of lost into oblivion. It was the party with Keith Moon,
I just seen them on
Keith Moon, the Who's drummer.
Alright.
Jesus Christ.
Sorry, I fucking didn't get anybody.
I was just looking for pictures there. I just typed in Blues Traveller Bill Clinton, but there's photos of them being on like David Letterman show and stuff like that. Some huge shows.
They said they were big pals with David Letterman, and they had the guy who taught them saxophone also taught Bill Clinton how to play the saxophone. So there's a joke there somewhere, man.
I taught Gordon Brown how to DJ.
Aye, you did actually did, fucking did.
Stupid.
You were at your work for he was at your work for 5 minutes.
Well, he came in for a photo opportunity at the Kirkcaldy YMCA, and he basically, obviously, they come in and sort of we'll here look at the local things. We'll come in for 5 minutes. We'll pretend we give a shit for 5 minutes. So he came in. We've got a wee photo. I've got it up on Facebook somewhere. I'll show you later. But it was just me sitting at the decks. And sort of Gordon came up and put the headphones on and just was like, oh, that. And I was like, you should try and scratch, try and get your hands on the deck and just try and move it back and forward. He'd done it, but it was just a weird moment, really. It was pretty funny.
Did he actually give it a go?
He kind of just went like that, but I didn't think, obviously I never knew what he was doing. But
no, but
it was just kind of, and it was a dubstep tune as well, so it was just kind of just a terrible sound as it was going back.
In order, if you're going to be a politician and you're going to do these public things, you should at least pretend that you're trying to care about the life. You should just go in and say, so what are they? Spend a fucking second.
The problem is, because he was on for 5 minutes, he wanted to see the Hill Place, and it's quite a big area. So he came into me and he was like, so what do I do here? And I was like, as I started to explain it was like, alright, you have to go. The next one I was like, Jesus, why ask?
I hate all that shit.
I would have
fuck that.
If you just came in and said to me, if you just want to pretend you're talking to me for 2 minutes, I would have done it quite easily.
Aye.
But even that, see,
Even that's pathetic as well.
We were up at the community shed, right? Up at the community shed in Kerry. I'm going to tell this.
Are you
This
going to
fucking my political failure
dry
right here,
snitching
right?
again?
No. Well, dry snitching on myself. It's no.
I thought it was the David Alexander thing.
No. We were up at we were up at the community shed, and it was just before the council elections. So we were up there, and because it's a community thing, one of the women, I think she's the treasurer.
Oh yeah.
The treasurer was going around doing the photos, and she was like, well, we've got a photo opportunity with you, and you could look like you're doing something. So I had this fucking stupid electronic fucking wood chipping thing down at this log.
A router.
That isn't plugged in.
A router. You had a router.
I had a router.
Aye.
That wasn't plugged in, but I have to hold it as if I'm about to use it, and then somebody's taking a photo and telling me to smile at the camera. I'm like, oh no, fuck this. I'll fucking just take the fucking footy as I'm looking at this log. Fuck that shit.
I remember they'd done a thing up at the Kenry Youth Club, and it was for Bree, Mal and Pete.
Right.
It was a memorial kind of gig thing, and these Southmere come up and they were like, no, in fact, sorry, STV came through and they were done like a wee sort of trailer thing for it, and they were sitting outside and they were like, right, if you look like you're kind of sort of sweeping up and stuff like that. So they only had like 2 brushes, and they were like, right, we need to get somebody else in. So they would just found a stick, and the guy was like, just use this. So it's like a quite clear video. There's probably no available anymore. It was years ago, but there's a video of just somebody with a stick just pretending they're brushing in plain view. It just looks absolutely ridiculous, but nobody can do it. It's just amazing.
Just fake bullshit all the time. I hate every second of it. It's pish. So politics does you. It just fucking degrades your whole life.
Well, that's it. And people, I mean, they do it voluntarily. I'll never forget. I think it was when they were first campaigning for the Scottish Parliament, and they had the leaders of the different parties, and they had them. They're getting down with the kids, you know, and they all had the baseball caps on, you know, like Alex Salmond and this guy. I forget the Lib Dems.
John Wallace or something.
No, it was. I can see him. I can't remember his name. I'm bad at names. But anyway, the leader of the Lib Dems, the leader of the Tory party, you know, in Scotland, you know, and they were all getting down and they're looking as if they were dancing, trying to dance.
There's no need to degrade yourself like that at all. Oh man,
you're old white men. You're not into hip hop. You're not. You didn't wear hats. If you wore hats, you'd be wearing a hat. I wear a hat. That's what I do. So if I'm looking down with the kids, even I, who wears a hat, I'm the down with the kids. The kids would think I'm a fucking right knob. Because I'm into politics. You're not down with the kids. Just stop lying. Just tell people your fucking policies and kill yourself.
That's what people want to hear. They don't want to know what your favourite fucking group is. Because you didn't have a favourite group. You didn't have time to listen to bands. You know?
Jeremy Corbyn was asked what he thinks about Ant and Dec. He was, I don't fucking ken who Ant and Dec are. And the press went mental. You didn't ken about our national treasures. Fucking Ant and Dec. And Jeremy's like, I've got fucking important shit to do, like fucking running the Labour Party. Give me a chance.
Jeremy Corbyn done like a interview thing with GME. He was like a grime artist for London. So just a weird thing. I've never watched it and I didn't want to watch it. I think it's going to just look awkward.
He's doing the Bernie Sanders thing, because Bernie Sanders done that thing. He tried to, because he was getting quite popular with the black vote, and I think Corbyn's quite popular with the black vote, and so they're trying to get into black stereotypes like hip hop, and Bernie Sanders even went as far as getting hot sauce for chicken. Like, was fucking
that's all racist.
Like,
stereotype as
but it fucking worked.
And
Hillary Clinton even done that as well. She was asked.
What was your favourite hot sauce?
On a hip hop station. I'm sure it was a hip hop station.
I'm sure it was Hot 97. I'm sure it was. The
most important thing that you carry in your bag, and she was like, "Oh, I'm on a radio station with black people. I'll say hot sauce." Fucking hell!
What every woman carries in a handbag.
They should have checked. Because if she'd be in line, they'd have been like, "Oh, fuck."
It's like an advisor sat beforehand and we're just looking at like, what's black stuff I could find in the room. Ridiculous,
man. What are black people into hot sauce? and dodging police bullets.
Surprised I didn't just walk in with a watermelon. Just be proper fucking racist. At least go through it. Fucking hell.
It's madness.
Oh, I can't
So,
stand politics.
you left the Labour Party, Jock.
Aye. That was it. I left the Labour Party and I did 10 years on the road, if you like, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'd seen how the Scottish Socialist Party was starting up. But at that time, I was looking for another job because the roadie didn't pan out. We kept losing money. Great time, but lost money. Anyway, so I had to try and get a job. So I went and did a course at the college. I got an HND in computing, and I thought, oh, this is it. Future rosy for me. I'll be either be a tutor or I'll be a computer engineer because I'm really into computing and that. But I put a couple of application forms into college, and they went, sorry, you can't work for us because you've got a conviction for cannabis. I went,
oh, for fuck's sake!
Honestly, I says, you're joking. And that's exactly what I said. Oh, for fuck's sake! Woman said, yes, I'm afraid so. So I was going, I says, but what's the problem like? I says, she says, well, it's just a policy. She says, it's the same in any school, any college. She says, anybody that's got a drug conviction of any type, she says, you're going to register. That's what, like a sex register? She went, exactly the same as a sex register. She says, and that, you'll not get a job. She says, it doesn't really matter. I said, what, do you think I'm going to teach pupils how to grow cannabis like?
The people making that register need to smoke some fucking cannabis. Chill the fuck out.
Well, they do. She says to me, she says, look, she says, don't get me wrong, she says, you'll hardly find anybody in this college that hasn't at least smoked it. She says, and probably still does. She says, but we didn't get caught.
I reckon you need to smoke weed to be a lecturer.
Well,
because that must be stressful as fuck.
I can imagine.
Or a primary school teacher. Can you imagine dealing with 5-year-olds all day? No. Fuck that. Wouldn't be doing that like.
Well, that's
they're
it.
Definitely higher than that.
Well, the rule is that's it. You're in a register, you don't get a job. That's it. And I can't get into America either. Oh, fuck!
What a nightmare!
What am I going to do now?
Where can you?
Is it just America you can't get into? Is that the cut-off
maybe
point?
Australia as well.
Australia's quite bad for that. Canada's worse actually.
Canada's a pain in the arse.
Well, that's 3 countries I didn't want to go to anyway.
New Zealand?
No.
I reckon you get in Holland. I reckon Holland will be alright with you.
Aye.
They'll ask you to come here, they'll pay your fucking plane ticket.
So that was it. So I joined. So when I finished my course, I joined up the Scottish Socialist Party, and I became a full-time organiser with the Scottish Socialist Party because of my trade union background and militant background as well. Because it was half of them had been in the militant, the people that were on the executive of the Scottish Socialist Party. But then I had Tommy Sheridan was the one and only MSP for the party at that time. But they were telling me, Colin Fox told me that they had high hopes of getting 8 or 9 more elected at the 2003 election.
On top of Tommy, or as well as Tommy?
Aye, as well as Tommy, aye. So, as it turned out, we got another 5. Another 5. We almost got one in this region. We were very, very close. I think it was down to about 27 votes or something like that. Or else we would have got one in this region. Another one, But that we were over the moon. We thought this was a great thing, But as it turned out, it wasn't such a benefit to us because the people who got elected, we found that some of them thought that they should get the credit and they should get the kudos rather than Tommy being in the limelight all the time. They wanted to push him out the road and get a woman in there. Get a woman in there as the leader of the party. And as I said to Colin Fox at the time, I says, if you've got a problem with Tommy Sheridan, then there are ways and means of going about it. But what happened was we had the infamous executive meeting where the News of the World had put an article in the News of the World, which is now defunct, I'm glad to say. And it was about how Tommy Sheridan had slept with this woman from Aberdeen, and he had sex with her on this is what they wrote. He had sex with her on the stairs of this person's house when everybody else was in the living room having a branch meeting. You know, which I thought,
Wow.
that's kind of hard to believe. You know, I mean, that anybody wouldn't actually have and that nobody would notice. You know, like, I mean, it doesn't matter how intense some of our branch meetings would be.
You notice if Tommy wasn't there.
Aye, somebody is going to go, anybody seen where Tommy went, you know? And then, of course, her story went for her and Tommy being lovers and sharing cocaine and champagne and strawberries. And then it was like 3 in a bed. And then
I love shredded strawberries in there as well.
Aye.
Cocaine, champagne, strawberries.
You need to spice it up a wee bit, don't
Just
you?
watch Tommy with these strawberries.
So-
That sounds like a good night, though.
But then it was like 3 in a bed, and then I ended up 5 in a bed. You know, now I don't know any company that manufactures a bed big enough and strong enough to have 5 people that can have sex in it. You know. So anyway,
I'll get back to you on that.
So it was an absolutely ludicrous story, and Tommy was going nuts. He's going, I'm suing them, you know. So they were going, no, you can't do that. I remember Alan McCombs at the time saying, nobody has ever taken a newspaper to court in Scotland for libel and won. And he was absolutely right. And Tommy's going, I don't care. He says, if I don't take them to court, he says, then it's looking like an admission of guilt.
Yep.
He says, I would be ruined. He says, my career would be ruined. He says, it will affect my family. He says, it'll affect the party. He says, I'm not doing it. So they wanted him to step down. And this is where the big arguments came in. They wanted him to step down. And this was what was behind it, in my opinion. So behind it. If he had stepped down, or if he had stepped down the way when they wanted and the way they wanted, then things might have been different. But he said he was still going to take the newspaper to court. It's just that we said that he couldn't do it as the convener. So he took the newspaper to court, and these revolutionary socialists joined with the News of the World, a semi-pornographic newspaper, a criminal newspaper, anti-working class, anti-trade union newspaper, joined forces with him and the police and the Crown Office to be witnesses against Tommy Sheridan, who was the leading socialist, leading left in Scotland at the time. And they're in their own convener. And apart from anything else, apart from the rights and wrongs and whatever, they took a very bad and a wrong political decision. Politically, it was completely the wrong thing to do. They should have left Tommy to get on with it, stood back. Even if they had something to say, they should have shut up and said nothing. Even if they hated Tommy Sheridan, which they clearly did. I mean, they made no bones about it. There was a real vicious anti-Tommy Sheridan campaign started up, and a lot of people were swallowing it, and they're telling me what had happened at this meeting, and they're telling me how bad Tommy was, and they're telling me how what Tommy, the kind of things that Tommy had been getting up to and all that, you know. And I was saying to them, where did you get all this? Have you ever met Tommy? No. I said, well, how do you know? How do you know this has happened? Were you there at the time? No. I said, well, where are you getting this information? A very good friend of mine told me. You know, like every rumour starts, a very good friend of mine told me. And that was it. This was, and that, of course, was why we had to split. You know, there had to be a split at the time in 2006. I was against the split, I have to say, at the time, because I thought we could beat them, you know, and that we would get the majority of people, you know, because you'd stay in the Scottish Socialist Party and take it over, and we would beat them, you know. But you know, Tommy and others convinced me that was just, you know, a utopian dream, if you like. You know, that was never going to happen.
It's sort of like staying in the Labour Party too.
Aye, that's exactly this a similar scenario. Aye, so and there would have been bloodshed because people were even at that time, you know, people were getting threatened with violence. People, who were supporting Tommy.
Jesus Christ.
They get threatened with violence. I mean, some of the stories, it'll come out, and Tommy's bringing a book out, so everybody should look out for that. When Tommy and Gail, they're writing a book now, so everybody should look out for that. When it comes out, it'll come out with a lot of these, just exactly what happened at that time, because Gail was heavily pregnant at that time. But did that matter to these women who were meant to be feminists? Did it matter to the socialists, who were meant to be revolutionary? No, it didn't. They just wanted to get, they just wanted to be in the limelight. They wanted to be in the vanguard of the left. And they thought this was a big move for the left. Of course, they didn't even realise that this was completely going to split the left and going to, send us into the wilderness for 10 years at least, which it has.
It has,
Which it has.
That was when I first got into socialism, obviously the first party I got to was the Scottish Socialist Party, because they seemed to be have made a presence, because at this point Solidarity had sort of, I wouldn't say died because you'd been standing candidates, but you weren't as active as the Scottish Socialist Party seemed to be. So I got automatically dragged to the Scottish Socialist Party and read through their manifesto and found myself agreeing with everything. And then it wasn't long, I think that was during the independence movement, because I didn't want to join the SNP, because I didn't agree with the SNP. I was getting close to joining the Greens, like everybody else was joining the Greens, but then I was like, no, I'm going to try something different, I'll go somewhere else. So the SSP was where I went.
Solidarity.
I went to the SSP first,
Right.
found their manifesto and agreed with everything, and then it was during the Scottish Parliament elections. I liked Tommy, but I didn't ken much about Solidarity, so I was drawn straight to the SSP instead. And then it was during the Scottish Parliament elections when we spoke to Bill. At that point, I still didn't ken whether I wanted to vote for Rise or Solidarity, because the policies were the same, almost the same.
We went to both
the public meetings
both
to meet the
public
candidates.
meetings,
So we met Jenny, we met Bill. So we were struggling, we didn't fucking know who to vote for. But then the thing that sort of pushed me towards Solidarity instead of the SSP was nationalised pharmaceuticals and leaving the EU. At that point, I didn't believe in leaving the EU, but the difference of opinion here in a left perspective of leaving the EU intrigued me. So I was like, I want to fucking hear more about this. So I ended up voting for Solidarity, so that's how I got into that. So now, it's weird now, as soon as you say Solidarity, it automatically goes to Tommy, and then you get either, I fucking love Tommy Sheridan, or you get, that fucking shagger, or whatever it is, and then you get into an argument and you're like,
because you've been involved from the very beginning, basically, haven't you?
Aye. But see, that was a tragedy, was the fact that the Scottish Socialist Party and Solidarity have very, very similar programmes. We're the same politically, but the big difference is that people in the SSP, certainly at that time, I don't know if they're as bad now or as bigoted now, but they refused to accept that Tommy Sheridan could play any kind of role. For me, that is suicide. Here was the guy who was the best orator that has been for 2 generations in Scotland. The best socialist, a guy who's proved himself time and time again. He led the anti-poll tax campaign in Britain. He led the campaign against the bedroom tax. He got rid of warrant sales on his own. Persuaded the rest of the Scottish Parliament, or most of them anyway, to vote alongside him. He did all that, and then when he went to court, he fought his own case, and court sacked his QC and fought his case in court. Now that alone, you should go, whoa, hats off to that guy. He knows what he's doing. He's a good guy. Let's get behind him and let's support him. But no, they've got this hatred of him for some reason that I still can't explain. But the bottom line is that we've got an even worse split in the left. At a time when the people of Scotland, I believe, are crying out for a party of the left. The Labour Party certainly isn't it. They're to the right, for the first time ever, they're to the right of the Labour Party in England. So they're still with the Blairites, the old New Labour
No.
philosophy. So I think that we need a left-wing party. The SNP isn't a left-wing party because they're being a nationalist party. They're inclusive. They have rich and poor. They have views for the right, views for the left. So they didn't have the same focus as a socialist party has.
They didn't even claim to be a left-wing party either. That's just their members have been
Some of them do.
deluded into this idea that the SNP are very left-wing.
Aye.
But they say openly that they're centre-left. They didn't. Some do say they're socialists. Like Mary Black says she's a socialist. Tommy Shepherd is on the left. He owns the Stand Comedy Club as well.
Oh, right, shit, nice.
Aye.
Tommy Shepherd.
There's a lot of people who have joined the SNP who are undoubtedly socialists.
No.
But a lot of SNP members that I've spoken to who didn't even call themselves socialists will say, "Oh, Joe, I agree with you. I agree with you guys. I'm a socialist at heart, but I'm in the SNP." I said, "But you're in the SNP."
We bumped into one at the
Aye, that's
polling
right.
station.
Aye, he was just one of many. Many people like that. A lot of them have got this idea. I say, well, once we get independence, then the SNP has lost its reason for being. Raison d'être, as I say. So we'll be looking for something better. We'll be looking for something more socialist. So it's no. The SNP isn't a left-wing party. And whereas they'll claim to be in the central belt, but up north, their policies are a lot more conservative. The farming areas and up there. That's traditionally Tory territory anyway. And I think this general election, I think they're going to lose a couple of seats up that area to the Tories. Which is a shame.
Oh, you think there's going to be another couple of Tory MPs?
Oh, aye.
Oh, fuck, they say that joke, for fuck's sake.
Oh,
We've had, one for how many years? A lot of years. And you're thinking we're going to now start to get more than one.
Oh, aye. I think that's on the cards. We'll get 2 or 3. It will not be the same. It will not be quite the same. I mean, every election is different. I don't think it'll be the same as the council elections. We're not going to have the influence of the Orange Lodge, I don't think, this time. Although they will try it again. The Tories... The only way that a tiny percentage can rule over the vast majority is through deception.
No.
And the Tories are good at deception. They're really good at it. And they'll use all sorts of things. They use a race card, that's divide and rule. They use all the tactics that they've learned over the last 200 years. And they'll use all sorts of stuff. And they may use the Orange Lodge card again this time, because it was... the newspapers said before when they were trying to do Jeremy Corbyn in, they said, "Oh, he's an IRA supporter."
I'm fucking so bored of dealing with that fucking argument.
Well, that's it. But of course, it rang a bell with, or it rang a chord with with some of the Orange order.
Yeah.
Oh well, we'll vote for anybody but Labour then, and they didn't like the SNP because they're for independence. So of course they're voting Tory. But there's more to it than that. But that was a factor certainly in the council elections. But I think it might well be a factor this time, in the general election. But they're certainly going to. They're fighting it on the grounds of independence. And Nicola Sturgeon is running away for the argument. She's going, well, this election is partly due to a referendum. But the referendum is sort of part of it. So, well, tell us what you...
Sturgeon needs to keep this one on the independent referendum because that's all she's got. I think if she tries to play it as policies only, she's going to lose a lot because the SNP policies aren't that great.
That's right. We've still got food banks. We've still got austerity in Scotland. We've got 220,000 kids in Glasgow in the poverty. They're living in poverty.
Sturgeon posted the other day about the unemployment lowering in Scotland. She says this is as a success story, neglecting the fact that she's bashed UK statistics of lower unemployment due to zero contracts and sanctions and
exactly.
shit. She just forgets that fact when it comes to Scotland. She's a proper fucking politician.
Aye, that's it. It's all smoke and mirrors and deception. But let's not paint the the SNP in a really bad light, because they're by far to the left of the Tories and by far to the left of the Labour Party and the Lib Dems, you know, so and they're the only ones capable of taking on the Tories at this general election. So you know, we have to back them for this election. You know, as we said at the last general election when we called for a vote for the SNP, you know, we're lending them our vote, you know, but we're lending our vote to whoever it is going to take on the Tories. Now, if the SNP aren't going to take the Tories on, and there is a lot of the. See, I heard the Tories coming out with this today. They were saying that SNP is losing support. No, I think they're right.
Right.
I think they are losing support. You know, I mean, you can only go so long saying, stick with us, we're going to get independence, or no right away, just leave it with us, trust us, we're going to get independence, but leave it, you know, now's not the time. Then Theresa May comes out with, look, you'll get a referendum, okay, but now's not the time. They go, how dare you say that? You're a bastard, Theresa May, for saying that. And the SNP's been saying that for 2 years now.
Do you think they're getting sort of complacent with the fact that they're in power now? So
that's a popular belief, and I think they are. I think they are getting complacent. You know, somebody said, and I don't have any evidence to prove this, so I can't say that I believe this, but somebody was saying, well, they've got as many seats as they can get in the Scottish Parliament. They've got as many seats as they can get in Westminster. At that time, they were saying they're going to get as many seats as they need, and they'll take over all the councils in Scotland. You know, well, they won the Tories seem to think, and BBC seems to think that the Tories won the council elections. You know, but the SNP actually won. Yeah. So they've got as many seats there as they could hope for at the moment. You know, why should they rock the boat? Why should they go for independence? Right. They're in control. You know, and they didn't even have to run the economy. You know, they can blame the Tories in Westminster for all the problems that they've got in Scotland. So why should they move it? Why should they rock the boat?
Well, the Fife Council is going to be quite fun now, because they can't just blame Labour for cuts in public services, and if we start losing libraries and stuff, they can't just blame Labour anymore because they're in a coalition.
Oh yeah, David started that, didn't he? David supported that.
They're in a coalition with Labour?
No.
Oh, yeah.
Have they gone into a coalition?
Just came today.
Oh,
so
well,
David Alexander's the leader of the SNP and David Ross is the leader of Labour. So they're in a coalition now.
Oh,
so
right,
Jim Leishman's the provost and Julie Ford's the deputy provost. So they're mixing it up properly.
Good. Well, that's good. I'm glad to see that.
Did you hear about Aberdeen City Council?
I did.
That's a fucking shambles.
Absolutely.
Jesus.
But it was a shambles of the Labour Party's own making.
Aye.
You know, and I saw somebody saying today, one of the reporters saying today, that there's going to be more of this happening. You know, Labour councillors defecting, you know, and just saying, I'm going to do what's best for my community, and if the Labour Party doesn't like it, too bad, you know, suspend me or expel me, do what you want, or I'll leave, you know, but I'm going to.
But is a coalition with the Tories really better for the community? That's just a case of stopping the SNP for getting in, isn't it? It's not really.
No, yeah.
Oh, aye, their politics there, you know, they're probably. I don't like to say things without any kind of evidence or that, you know, but I would guess that they're of the old school, the old New Labour school, you know, and in Aberdeen, you know, it's always been a kind of Tory kind of, it's a well-to-do, it's going downhill rapidly now with the oil industry collapsing, but it has been a really pretty well-off city, you know, in the surrounding areas in particular, you know, the farming areas and that. So it's always been kind of Tory territory up there, you know, and the SNP's had a struggle. But what they've done to try and get themselves elected, Labour and the SNP, is to adopt kind of a Tory stance, you know, and support businesses and rather than the workers, you know. And I think that's going to unravel as the years go on, you know.
So you're in Solidarity now.
Aye.
How Jenga's doing quite well now?
No. I'm never satisfied.
Way be positive, fuck's sake.
I'm never satisfied. I think now, see what we when we had the split, then the Socialist Workers' Party joined us, or they stayed with us, if you like. They broke from the Scottish Socialist Party as well, and also the Socialist Party of Scotland. They broke from the Scottish Socialist Party.
Why are there so many socialist parties in Scotland?
Oh,
is this like the communists?
Aye, it's just like the old. Aye, it's like how many angels can dance on the head of a pin, as I say. I could talk about them later, but that's what happened, and they joined. They were in solidarity, but they were, because we were really pretty much a brand new party. When we left. After the split, they kind of took political control, and it was their ideas that really the party had to adopt. Now, I don't say anything against the SWP or the Socialist Party, because you will never find any comrades that are more hard working or committed than the people that are in these parties. I don't agree with their final conclusions. A lot of their politics, I would, or some of their politics anyway, to different degrees, I would agree with. But it's their conclusions that I don't agree with. But they kind of dominated Solidarity for years there, and we didn't recruit people in the mainstream party that we should have done, but I don't blame anybody for that. We're just all victims of circumstance. So then the SWP said, well, Solidarity isn't really going to do it for us, and they didn't agree with our stance on supporting the SNP at the 2015 general election, so they left. And then the following year, the Socialist Party of Scotland, they didn't agree with our policy, standing against the SNP. I can't remember what it was now, but anyway, they disagreed with something, and so they left. So that left the rest of us on our own. But what it was a broad collection of socialist-minded individuals that had really got out of the habit of campaigning, because the SWP and the Socialist Party, they had campaigned, and we have to get. So that's where we are at the moment, and we need to get back into the way of campaigning. We need to get back into the way of really getting into socialist politics and understanding. And I'm not saying that people didn't understand, but being able to let other people understand just what we're all about. Why Scotland needs a socialist party. Why Scotland needs solidarity. And why we should be out in the streets campaigning for that, rather than just campaigning on independence or just campaigning at the elections. So I think we've got a bit to go yet. I've got to be honest. I'm not going to say, oh, great, we're wonderful. We're coining it in, and we need people to join. We need more finance. We need to.
I'm probably not going to be very popular in the Yes movement for saying some of the things that I've said in the past few days. But it seems that
what you said.
There's people that seem to be putting independence above socialism, which to me, a kind of argument is that the only way to achieve socialism is through an independent Scotland, and to an extent I agree. But what if we do get independence and we turn down, say the Labour Party in Scotland becomes socialist, right? But they didn't support independence. Would we still support the SNP because they want independence, or would we support Labour who didn't want independence but were socialist? Because in that situation, if we vote for the SNP and get independence and then end up with a sort of a centre-left social democratic party, like a sort of a Blairite party, we've turned down socialism to get independence instead of the end goal, which is supposed to be socialism. Does that make sense? Have I explained that properly?
That makes absolute sense. Because
right.
that's exactly how I see it. I've got a great fear here. independence is totally in the hands of the SNP, but the clock is ticking.
Mm-hmm.
And while in Scotland we can see, and I think the whole Yes movement will recognise it, that morale isn't as high as it should be, that people are starting to lose heart, and the longer that Nicola Sturgeon hangs back waiting to call an Indiref 2, then the more the morale's going to go down. Now, while the morale in the Yes movement goes down, and while the illusions in the SNP start to diminish, people start to find out that the SNP isn't the left party that they maybe thought it was. At the same time in England, Jeremy Corbyn is recruiting people hand over fist. There's 100,000 people, 120,000 people I think it was, joined the Labour Party just last week. People are 120,000. Aye, in England, aye. So, they're getting thousands and thousands of people to come along and join the Labour Party. Now, it may well be too late for this particular election, but it bodes well for the future. For the next one, aye. Now, if the independence referendum gets put back, 4, 5, 6 years, then we get a Jeremy Corbyn-led Labour government. What's the point of getting independence when we've got a socialist government in Westminster? People are going to see that.
Right.
People are going to go, because the reason I'm wanting independence is to get socialism. Now, if for some reason we get socialism in the whole of Britain, or get, at least put us on the path for the whole of Britain, then independence can get put in the back burner.
Well, I was asked a few times, what's the one thing that would stop me wanting independence? And I said socialism.
Aye.
That's the whole fucking point.
Aye.
So if I've already got socialism, I'm not going to want to break it away so that we could maybe get a fucking centre-left government instead. That would defeat the whole purpose. That would be punching myself in the face. That's dumb. I didn't want that.
Aye.
But I feel like some on the socialist Yes movement, there's people that genuinely do think the SNP policies are the best. But I think on the socialist Yes movement, a lot of people are putting independence above socialism, which I can't agree with that at all.
It's cool. Couple of questions.
Oh, aye.
Bill Muir's been listening in, so we've got a few things about Bill Muir. First said, excellent question, independence versus socialism. We're talking about that there. Socialism, definitely more important. Imagine if Dugdale disappears and Neil Finlay takes over, completely in line with Corbyn. Then you have to decide whether to vote SNP or Labour.
Labour, I would vote.
And well said, Jock, Bill Muir says.
Oh, thank you, Bob.
There you go.
In that situation, I'd vote Labour.
Of course.
Aye.
Of course. I mean, our Solidarity's policy right now is to vote for the party that is most likely to take on the Tories. Now, at the moment in Scotland, that's the SNP. But in 2 years' time, who knows what's going to happen in 2 years' time, because we've still got the crash to come. We've still got the recession, which has been predicted for the last couple of years.
It's meant to be right around the corner now.
We've been teetering on the brink for about 2 years now. So when that arrives, we're going to be in serious trouble. Particularly people in England, it has to be said. Because at least in Scotland, you can't get jailed for being in debt. In England, you can, It's a real problem and in England, people losing their jobs, can't afford to pay their mortgage, get turfed out in the street. It's like Dickensian days,
Right.
So that's going to happen in the next couple of years if we have the recession, or when we get the recession anyway. So if anything can happen, a vote of no confidence in the Tory government. They might have a split in the Tory camp, but it's all, again, that's all down to economic strategy. Whatever economic strategy Theresa May follows, she might.
Well, have you seen the new workers' rights that the Tories have brought out?
I was telling Mum and Billy about the end of the day.
Yeah.
Quite beautiful, actually.
Have you seen the Tory manifesto?
For what it's worth, and it's worth shit.
Well, let me tell you about the workers' rights that the Tories are offering. You're getting a guaranteed, was it 5 extra holidays a year?
5 extra holidays a year.
Aye.
Unpaid.
Aye.
And you're guaranteed to be allowed to take a year off to look after family or something. Also unpaid.
Aye.
So that's your new
Workers' rights, man.
Aye,
There you
aye.
go.
The revolution is here. Power to the people.
The whole,
Also-
the whole three of us put our fists up there, so we're for it there.
There was also something about if you own your house, you have to pay for your social care,
Aye, it's
and
not.
if you could sell your house to pay for your.
Aye.
Oh,
the
people
thing
are
is
voting
that
for these.
There's people going to say, "Oh well, if they can afford," and I see they're going to, pensioners aren't going to get guaranteed their pensions.
Aye,
Saw a guy in the news
cancelling the triple lock.
Saw a guy on the TV, a young guy, and he was going, "Well, I'm a working man, I'm working. Why should I pay for pension? Have less pay than pensioners who aren't working? Because they've worked all their fucking life."
What a fucking daft argument.
Exactly, aye.
Jesus.
They've worked all their life for their pensions, but but people are going to say that because Thatcher's children is now Thatcher's grandchildren, Blair's children now. But people are going to think along these lines, But I think they're in the minority now.
Oh, we've got another question.
We've got Bill Shelton via capital letters. 12 months unpaid leave from Tories. Who can afford to take it?
Aye.
And then he apologised for the capitals. Capital letters. Sorry, Bill, you're all right.
Fucking ridiculous. I've not read the whole thing yet. Next week, we've got the Libertarian, Scottish Libertarians person, Kaz Paul, and we've got the Communist Party of Britain person, Tam Kirby, who's also the Five People's Assembly. We're going to I'm going to read all three of the main parties' manifestos, maybe the Greens as well. I reckon if they release an actual manifesto, whether they just say, "Oh, we like leaves" or whatever.
You like leaves, kale, stuff like that.
Kale, quinoa.
Quinoa.
Well,
Quinoa.
I keep saying to people I know in the Greens, they're all friends of mine, I just keep saying the Greens, they're just vegetarian liberals.
Aye.
That's all they are.
Oh.
I like some green.
Who was it that said this thing at Hustings? It was something today. One of the green people had an electric car. Was this you?
What was that?
One of them had an electric car, and your rebuttal was like, I can't afford an electric car.
That's
so
right.
it'd be great.
That was in
That's the
Dundee,
best thing I've ever heard.
I got a similar thing, which was fucking amazing.
I you kind of you hoovered it off Jock.
I did hoover it. I fucking totally hoovered it. Ever since Bill told me about that situation that you were in, I was like, Jock must have fucking loved that. Then I was like, oh, I hope I get something like that. And as soon as the green, I was at the equality hustings, as soon as the green women started talking about pollution and electric cars, I was like, oh fucking, me and Jock are going at that. That was fucking amazing. So I got to see a wee bit of it. Some folk can't afford electric cars, so you just calm down with your shit.
I wonder if that woman got back and they fucking done it again. Same party.
Was that a woman?
It was actually Rosanna Cunningham. She was SNP. She was SNP.
Oh, she SNP.
SNP woman,
Aye.
Oh,
that's amazing. Cool. Name your questions for Bill. So
not name your questions.
No.
Fucking one last thing. Chelsea Manning has been released from prison.
Oh, aye, brilliant.
Not saying that.
No, I think when she got jailed, the first time anybody had been jailed or prosecuted even for being a whistleblower and charged with treason. And she got sentenced to 35 years in prison.
No.
Now, at that time she was a man, but imagine the life that somebody would have getting sent to prison for what he at that time did.
Exposing a fucking crime.
Exposing a crime, but exposing the military.
Who was it that said
exposing the government?
That if you become a criminal for exposing the crime, then you're controlled by criminals or something. I reckon I said it, but it was a good quote.
I didn't understand that.
If you can get a conviction for exposing crime, then you're run by criminals. I'm sure is what the quote is.
All right.
I think.
don't know. That seems like a weird kind
Aye, I didn't like that. I didn't like that.
Oh, fuck you's been there.
of.
You fucking cunts.
I didn't like that.
Hope you crashed my head. So I Chelsea Manning's it. That's quality. That's the end of the fucking podcast then.
That was the
On
best
my
news
pish
today,
quote. You got anything?
No, I
you got
mean,
any-
she's not out for good though.
No, she's on bail, you said.
She's on bail, aye. She could be taken back into jail.
What I was annoyed at is as soon as the news posted on it, but the first thing was obviously, she put people in danger. She's a dick and whatever. That was the first thing, which the CIA totally disagrees with you. They said there was nobody in danger. But the second thing that everybody seemed to want to fucking bring up is, it's a man. It's a man on a dress. Like, fucking who cares at this point? She's been fucking... Just say she. It fucking doesn't matter. We could hear an argument about the scientific validity of it and her fucking time. At this point, the important issue is that she exposed a war crime and she got put in fucking prison for it. That's the fucking issue, isn't it? Deal with the science later on. Is there another question?
Bill's back in the case. Yeah, we'll get back in.
Oh, fuck's sake.
Okay, right, here's a wee thing. Ironically, I wrote a long message.
No.
Here's the wee thing. I was at a demo outside Scottish Parliament today in support of Palestinian hunger strikers.
Well done, Bill.
And against visit by Mark Rujev, SNP, Greens and Labour MSPs turned up.
Really something.
What?
There's really something.
Alright, right.
Ambassador, aye.
MSPs turned up and spoke in support of our demo. Organiser thanked them for turning up. However, we have heard fine words from Alex Salmon before in opposition to Israel, but shortly after, Scottish Government gave cash to Eden Springs, an Israeli company. So the conundrum is, should we welcome mainstream politicians supporting our causes because it gives us credibility, or should we, as I want to do, expose them in public for fine words but lack of matching action?
Well, I think if they're no stick to the way they're talking, fuck them. I think if they do stick to it, then sure, I'll accept. But they need to be consistent.
It's something that the Labour and trade union movement has had to suffer for as long as I've been involved. You know, where you get an MP at that time, an MP or a councillor coming along and saying that they supported your cause and everything, you know, and even clenched fists and everything, and I'm a socialist. And I remember when Gordon Brown and all these guys wore C&D badges before Labour changed their stance on nuclear weapons. So it's a real pain in the arse, but we accepted it at that time. But probably it's getting near the time where we can say, look, let's have some honesty here. If we're getting people that are going to come along, that want to come along and get some publicity because they're supporting their cause, then let's get them to sign a bit of paper or something to say, I pledge myself to this cause and I will help wherever I can, you know, and to sign a declaration, like the Declaration of Arbroath or something.
Right, totally.
You know, put them on the line, because if they'll not do that, then they're no genuine. Fuck them.
Right, fuck them.
You got Bill basically added as well, which is someone we spoke about on a news podcast.
Sorry for caps again, I just read that remote.
I read them all. Similar to politicians turn up at the People's Assembly anti-cuts demo and then going into Fife House to vote for the cuts.
Aye.
Should we let such people have their photo taken with us and get on the microphone, or should we publicly shame them for their duplicity? Jock's pledge idea sounds good.
I say fuck them. I'm with Jock. I'm totally with Jock.
Well, I would say that. Aye. Get them to, you know, put their money where their mouth is.
Mm-hmm.
If they
want the photo opportunity, they could fucking sign a bit of paper.
Aye, if they genuinely support the Palestinian cause, and who doesn't it? You know, let's find out who does, because you know what's happening in Palestine is an absolute travesty, and I hope, you know, as many people as possible come along to the meeting that Bill's going to be speaking to, our branch meeting
29th.
on the 29th of this month.
We'll put a link up in the description as well for.
Oh, right,
We're also going to be filming it.
Oh, brilliant, aye. Because it'll get an insight into exactly what's happening in Palestine, because you never get that kind of thing on the news. But politicians should be aware of what's happening, and yet they still contribute to Zionist organisations.
The first of me getting involved in the Palestine debate was during Operation Pillar of Cloud, which the Israeli Defence renamed Operation Pillar of Defence, because they want to push this idea that Hamas are killing all day.
A terrorist organisation.
Some of the stats that you see, like the IDF have broken more ceasefires than Hamas. When you look at statistics of who's dead, the IDF kill a higher percentage of innocent civilians than Hamas do, and the IDF have much better weapons. So if they've got much better weapons, how are they so inaccurate, and yet Hamas is able to kill mostly IDF soldiers instead of innocent people? Like, these are questions that people refuse to fucking answer, and that pisses me right off. When fucking kids are being chained to trucks to stop other kids terrorising these fucking well-trained soldiers with armoured cars, because they're throwing fucking rocks at these poor soldiers with fucking machine guns. What arseholes, total cunts.
So I was trying to find a event page for Palestine. I'll get it all.
Aye.
You go.
I've moaned enough of it.
Is that yours? I'll check your bills.
I'm getting Palestine. I get here and there.
Oh, quality. No, Bill's giving me the link there. Perfect.
Alright.
Quality. Right, well, I think that's us, man.
Aye. Anything else you want? No? Nothing else you
I'm
want to bring
cool,
up?
I'm cool.
Anything else? No?
Anything you need to bring up, Joe?
Anything you want to plug?
No, really, no.
Quality. Well, that's the end then. Cheers for joining us on this very long political podcast.
Thanks very much. Did we go on forever there?
About an hour and a half.
Fucking hell.
That's pretty. Fuck it. I like an hour and a half.
Aye.
Quite like that.
Aye.
Nobody will like listening to it.
No, probably no one.
This is one of the problems, is that people kind of have different reasons for listening to this podcast a lot of the time. Like, some people like sort of short 10-minute sections. I like the fact that like we're getting a deeper conversation for an hour and a half. And that way you're getting your time to speak. You're not getting cut off at certain points a lot of the time. So I like that kind of style. And there's a lot of people that like kind of like 15 minutes, half an hour, kind of quick bites sort of thing. Like watching telly, everything's kind of cut down for you sort of thing.
Or nowadays YouTube, where it's just 35-second videos.
Aye, totally. I'd much rather get into the full conversation rather than kind of just hear the sound bites sort of thing. It sounds kind of over-rehearsed.
I enjoy talking more than folk enjoy listening, though, which is it's not good if you do a podcast.
Jock is talking on a vodcast on Monday in Dunfermline.
That's right. I forgot about that.
You fucking shut your plug in.
Aye.
When you're on iPad, you can plug this podcast.
Aye.
That would be great. That would be fantastic.
I'll do that. Aye. I'll not forget that one.
So it's iPatch. They're on iPatch.
On iPatch, aye.
Excellent.
It's in Dunfermline, you said.
I'm sure Bill will probably put a link in for me, so I'll grab that and I'll put it in.
It's an independence.
What day?
For Independence. Monday night.
Monday night. What time?
7 o'clock.
Same as us, so they fucking copied us.
Aye.
Right, so that's been us. We'll see you next week.
That's fantastic. Thanks very much, Jock.
Thank you.